Good morning. Happy Friday. Dear friends of Lambda Island, we made it this far. Let's see what today's puzzle brings. Curious if it's going to start getting harder. I think in the past I often sort of would drop off around day 10 to 12. That's usually the point where it started taking so much time that I was starting to wonder what I was doing with my life. But we're not there yet. We're at day 4. And the last 3 days have been very reasonable. So let's see what today brings. Should be fun either way. A couple people left comments. Really appreciate that. Do leave comments on the video. I read them. I try to reply to them. And I'll try to give a shout out where possible. Some things still regarding yesterday. A couple people pointed out to me that instead of doing what I was doing, string split based on new line, I could just use string split lines. And that's actually a function I did not know existed, so that's cool to know. If we look at, what am I doing? I guess I'm not jacked in and my Emacs is doing funny stuff. Check in before we do more strange things. Okay, connection established. Yeah, so split lines, which splits by an optional carriage return and then a new line. So I was kind of curious because I've been doing, working on Regal, been doing a lot of stuff with regular expressions, and I was curious if maybe it was using this one, capital R, which I learned about this year, which matches any Unicode new line character. So there's actually a whole bunch of them. It matches carriage return new line as a single unit. And in particular, it does that without backtracking. So that means that if you have \r as a regular expression, it will not it will match this to carriage returns. It will match two new lines, but it will not match a single carriage return new line, because that is considered a single unit and it only matches the first one. Even though this one could match the R and this one could match the N, but that is kind of an interesting edge case. Someone also mentioned asked on the comments if I was using a split keyboard, because they thought my hands were quite far apart. I can tell you, maybe anticlimactically, that I am using as vanilla as it gets Logitech keyboard, but I like this keyboard a lot. I actually have an Ergodox somewhere, bought it a couple years ago. I actually used Advent of Code as a way of trying to practice getting used to it. And I had 2 or 3 attempts where I used it for several weeks and really tried hard to get into the flow with it. Could not do it. So I went back to these just very basic US keyboards, and I am super happy with them. Besides that, I also have this boy on my desk, which I currently use for switching scenes when I'm and I realized that I am doing the thing that I'm doing every day, where I showed you guys, or wanted to show you guys, some stuff and then didn't because I'd left it just to switch to my camera. So I was talking about string split lines, which is an alternative to what I was doing, string split and then splitting on new lines. And the regex pattern I was talking about is the capital R, which will match all of these things, as well as a range of specific Unicode new line characters. Someone also asked if I could review some of the community submissions. Now, I think doing really like full reviews is gonna take too much time. I want to get to today's puzzle. But I did want to point out one particular thing that I saw, which I thought was interesting. So in my solution, I sort of have this sled method, sled function, which kind of does a lot of things, right? Like it moves the proverbial cursor, checks if the tree is there, and then sort of does these different conditional checks. But one approach that I thought was quite cool was to really split it up into sequence operations. So first start with, so say that you have, the 1-3 pattern, right? So like you want to move, or is it, it's 1-3, yeah. Well, one on the x, no, it's 3-1, 3 on the x, y on 1 on the y axis. To first split that into a sequence of x positions. So you could do that in multiple ways. You could do something like, well, you can do it with range, but then it's harder to make it an infinite sequence, or at least you could say something like range from 1 to 100, step 3, right? And then you sort of get these, but then it only goes up to a certain point. You could do a regular range, an infinite range starting at 1. And then does that actually work? No, that's not right. It's almost right. I guess it's a regular range multiply by 3 and then increment, something like that. Does that get the same result? Also, this is an infinite sequence, so watch out with that. Yeah, so that works. But I think actually the pretty elegant way is just with iterate. Why don't I get LDoc unmatched bracket or quote? Oh. So iterate takes a function and an x. So you start, for instance, with 1 and you say partial plus 3. Right? So these are your x's. And then you sort of do the same thing for your y's. In this case, it's a +1 or just an increment, I guess. And then you can start, just turning these sequences into other sequences. So map can take multiple arities, and then the function that you pass to map will get multiple arities. And then what did we have here? Tree question mark. Which takes a map. How did I do this? Which should give us, let's see, which line? 67. What am I missing here? Oh. Let's call this M. I was shadowing the map function. It's not usually a good idea. Right, so now we get like a sequence of trees, and at a certain point it turns nil. Now we can just say, for instance, filter true, and then count that. Oh, does this seem to be significantly slower? Or something is still running. Oh, I need a take. Yeah, it doesn't terminate. So yeah, take while some, so that it stops as soon as it sees a nil. Refactor thread last to make this a little nicer. And now, yeah, now we get a value. Which isn't exactly the value we're supposed to get. Not sure what I'm doing wrong here, but just wanted to point out, I thought this was a cool approach. All right, that's all I'm gonna say about yesterday. Time to move on to today. So I see there's a current couple viewers. There should be a live chat. Hey everyone, good morning. So do let me know what you think. Right. All right, day 4, passport processing. You arrive at the airport only to realize that you grabbed your North Pole credentials instead of your passport. While these documents are extremely similar, North Pole credentials aren't issued by a country and therefore aren't actually valid documentation for travel in most of the world. It seems like you're not the only one having problems, though. A very long line has formed for the automatic passport scanners, and a delay could upset your travel itinerary. Due to some questionable network security, you realize you might be able to solve both of these problems at the same time. The automatic passport scanners are slow because they were having trouble detecting which passports have all required fields. The expected fields are as follows. Okay, and they're just sort of 3-letter codes for these fields. Passport data is validated in batch files, your puzzle input. Each passport is represented as a sequence of key value pairs, separated by spaces or new lines. Passports are separated by blank lines. Here is an example batch file containing 4 passports. Yeah. The first passport is valid, all 8 fields are present. The second passport is invalid, it is missing height. The third passport is interesting, the only missing field is CID, so it looks like data from North Pole credentials, not a passport at all. Surely nobody would mind if you made the system temporarily ignore missing CID fields. Treat this passport as valid. The fourth passport is missing 2 fields, CID and BERT. Missing CID is fine, but missing any other fields is not, so this passport is invalid. According to the above rules, your improved system would report 2 valid passports. Okay, so we need to find all the ones that have all required fields, and CID for now is not yet a required field. Yeah, I think we can breeze through this. Now, I guess I could use something like, you know, my newly discovered split lines function here. Anton says hi. Hi, Anton. I think that's, my Cyrillic isn't that great, but I think those are ends. Split lines, but since we actually have multiple lines that belong together but then separated by a double new line, I think instead we can do, come on. Something like this first, right? So now we get 4 entries, is that correct? Yes, 4 entries, that is correct. Let's put those on the right. And then for each of these, let's take the first, we do an reseq of 3-word characters, a colon, and then, yeah, I guess it can be a couple things, letters, numbers, or a pound sign, but let's just say anything that is not white space. I think I can do like this, plus, what does that look like? String cannot be, because this takes it in the other order. Let's quickly put a thread last on there to move that to the other side. Yeah, okay, looks good enough. Let's maybe turn this into maps, right? So yeah, here I can say map next, for instance, then that and it's probably gonna complain because those are sequences and not map entries. And also, am I doing this right? Let's how is it? Refactor thread unwind? Yes. So why does it not like that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So this is a common pattern for sort of mapping things into maps. And it kind of relies on the fact that 2-element vectors can be treated as map entries. Yeah. So the problem was that I was giving it something like foo bar hello. So if I try to turn that into a map, it does not like that. Although it does surprise me that it say that it can't cast string to map entry. But in any case, if we change these lists, these sequences to vectors, then it works. So we have parse entry. I mean, and now we're pretty much there, at least for the first one. Yeah, someone also Vincent on the Clojure Slack was, I guess, like low-key mind blown by my use of this X prompt, which of course Vim users are very familiar with. And which really goes back way before Vim at X. You see it in sed. It's a pretty powerful way of doing things. No, how is it? No, 0. Okay. Yeah, so I can, for now, I guess I can just count all the fields besides CID. So how many fields are these? 8. So yeah, of course this is confusing because now entry here is a string and here it's a map. I'm just gonna call this M. If I dissoc CID and then count it, we should get to 7. So 2 are valid, which is what we're supposed to get, right? Is that, yes, report 2 valid. Okay, now let's grab our real puzzle inputs. Still had some stuff here. So bin fetch input for day 4. Yeah. Can copy that from here. Namespace. There you go. So that's our real input. If I run this on the real input, 228. Is that right? Yes, so far so good. Now I'm sure it's going to get a little more interesting. Part 2. The line is moving more quickly now, but you overhear airport security talking about how passports with invalid data are getting through. Better add some data validation quick. Okay, so we're going to have to actually check the specific fields. You can continue to ignore the CID field, but each other field has strict rules about what values are valid for automatic validation. 4 digits, at least 1920, at most 22. Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna copy paste that. Where all required fields are both present and valid according to the above rules. Here are some examples. It's gonna be more rejects tomfoolery, huh? So let's make it valid too. Yeah, and I'm gonna grab this guy. Let's just make that a big and so it needs to contain a birth year and parse long. Actually, this is I didn't bother converting these to keywords or anything, but not as widely known. So you can destructure a map with keys, right? If it has keyword keys. Not as widely advertised is that you can also destruct strings like this. Looks weird, but I'm pretty sure that's that works. So brr IR other IR hit HCL, ECL, PID, CID. Although we don't need to check for CID. So birth year needs to be between 1920 and 2002. Issue year. Similar thing, but needs to be between 2010 and 2020. Expiration year needs to be between 2020 and 2030. Height, a number followed by either centimeter or inch. If centimeter, the number must be at least 150 and at most 193. Okay, so this, can we just do this inline? Gonna have to do an RE find on this thing. No, maybe. Okay, first of all, what happens if we just, I mean, I know JavaScript would just ignore this trailing stuff, but you know, Java does not like it. So yeah, let's actually just destructure this with a regex. So we have some digits and inch or centimeter. And the first one is the total match, so we ignore that one. We need to, of course, put a string in here. That's going to be height. And then we just do a case, right? Case on the unit. Either it's centimeter, and then we're back to this here, where it's between 150 and 193. There are plenty of people shorter or longer than that. I know you hope you realize the discriminatory nature of these rules. Immigration, man, it's the worst. All right, inches. So this is a little tedious, just implementing these rules and hoping that we don't make any mistakes. Let's already test this. So in this case, so yeah, that's still, but now I need valid 2 and count those. No matching clause. Yeah, okay. So it's not always centimeter or inch. A number followed by, or am I doing something wrong? Probably doing something wrong. What do we have? It's gonna fly by nil. Oh, because it's invalid input. Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's the whole point of validating, right? So then we just put a false here. Okay, so at least it runs. We don't know yet if it's correct. Oh, and this is gonna be fun. If we don't get the right value, like how do you start debugging this? It's really just sort of, yeah, looking over each rule again and trying to see if you missed something. Hair color, a number followed by exactly 6, character 09 AF. Can just write that as an RE find too, huh? So this should be pound or hash. And then I think you can use, no, is it X? There's a code for hex, but okay, I'm just gonna, I don't remember now. Maybe I should use Regal. Keep talking about it. String comes second, yes. Hair color, eye color, People on the stream, do tell me if I'm making a mistake, yeah? Okay, this one's easy. Let's see. Let's first turn that into strings. And again, I can just sort of turn these spaces into, yeah, like that. And then we just stick that in a set. And this will be pretty fast too. Set lookups are efficient. So it needs to be exactly one of these. And then PID, not the process ID, but the passport ID. A 9-digit number, including leading zeros. So do they mean by that it's always going to be exactly 9 numbers because it starts with zeros? I do not know. But okay, let's try to do some more regexing. Oh, maybe we should also anchor this one and give it a count and an anchor. So that should just be 9 digits. And CID, ignore missing or not, so we're just not going to look at that. Okay. I think we're done. Where is this 77? Oh, because we need a string. Come on. 175. God, I hope this is right. All right, that's the right answer. Okay, that was it for day 4. Thanks for watching. If you're watching not the live stream but the video afterwards, do leave your comments. Let me know if there's something I should talk about tomorrow, or if there's something you want to point out. And I hope to see you on the stream tomorrow. Have a nice day.